Al-Fatiha, with the intention of seeking Allah's guidance and blessings for today's event. Al-Haziniyah Al-Fatiha. Inshallah, may the knowledge and wisdom acquired today bring benefit to all of us. This is our event flow for today. We will start with a brief introduction of our collaborative partner, IFSG. Then we'll be having a short quiz to warm us up. Subsequently, we will have a sharing session by our guest speaker, Mr. Sani Hamid. Following that, we will have a question and answer segment before moving on to the final key takeaways. Lastly, we will close the event properly with a recitation of Tasbih, Kafarah, and Suratul Asr. To start off our event, we will have one of our TDO, Nur Iman binti Khairi, to give opening remarks. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Iman. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Iman, the Training and Development Officer. And I'm sincerely grateful for your presence tonight. Despite everyone coming from different places, from work, from class, from another school, and home, it truly means a lot to me and my subcommittee that each of you chose to be here. A quick overview of Training and Development Subcommittee. We are entrusted with providing the correct knowledge and understanding of Islam to the Muslim community in NTU. Our responsibility extends to the holistic growth of the NTU Muslim society, ensuring that everyone has a solid foundation in Islamic principles. Now, in this third consecutive year, the Training and Development Subcommittee proudly presents Finance 101. For this edition, we will be collaborating with SMU Islamic Business and Finance Society for a two-part series. We frequently hear the saying, save for rainy days. Some of us here have no financial savings knowledge, while others acquainted with diverse financial strategies may question their alignment with Halal and Sharia principles. Savings provide security and act as a lifeline during unforeseen financial challenges. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ stressed the significance of saving for the future. As narrated in the hadith by Imam Bukhari, save some wealth for your future, it will be beneficial for you. Tonight, in the first part of Finance 101 series, Mr. Sani Hamid will share key elements of personal finance with a focus on Islamic principles. This session will explore halal financial products suitable for young Singaporeans and address common challenges faced by Singaporean Muslim youth in areas such as investment, insurance, and CPF. Now I will pass my mic back to Iman. Continue, Iman.
Thank you, Iman. I'm pretty sure your speech has really enlivened everyone to join TD next year. Now a brief introduction of our partner, IFSG. Though I'm not the best person to share about it, IFSG stands for Islamic Finance Singapore. They are dedicated to promoting the cause of Islamic finance in Singapore through education, training, and providing a platform for Islamic economic stakeholders to interact with the wider community. If you're interested in learning more, please join the IFSG Telegram group for discussions, the latest updates and answers to your Islamic finance and investment questions. The QR code will be shown at the end of the event. For today, we are honored to have Mr. Sani Hamid as our guest speaker. Assalamualaikum, sir. Thank you for coming down to share with us more on Islamic finance. Before we begin the talk, allow me to introduce Mr. Sani Hamid briefly. Mr. Sani Hamid has more than 23 years of working experience in the financial markets, having worked for companies such as S&P MMS, where he led a team of analysts covering emerging Asian economies, BNP Paribas Peregrine as a senior economist, and S&P Ratings as a director in the sovereign team overseeing the rating of countries such as Indonesia, India, Malaysia, and Singapore. He has been widely quoted in the media throughout his career and has spoken at numerous international conferences on a range of topics. He holds a bachelor's with honors in business from NTU, Singapore, and a master in social science and in applied economics from NUS. He is a certified financial planner and also holds a certificate in Islamic banking and finance from the International Islamic University of Malaysia, also known as IIUM. Mr. Sani presently sits on the investment committee of the Majlis Ugama Islam Singapura, also known as MUIS, and advises several Muslim welfare organizations on investment matters. He is actively involved with voluntary work with Muslim associations such as MUIS, Mendaki, and others. He's also the advisor to the Debt Advisory Center at Association of Muslim Professionals. Now, before we pass on the mic to Mr. Sani Hamid, we'll be warming up with an interactive activity. Please prepare your phones to scan the QR code or join or key in the code as shown in the screen below. Let's go. What? Like. Apa tu? Apa tu busy sah? Lol. Okay, last 30 seconds to sign up for the quiz. Yeah. Okay. One more. Make it count. Yeah, calling once, calling twice. Okay, let's start the quiz. Bismillah. Mana ni? Okay, first question. What is riba in Islamic finance? Tadi aku salah. Tadi awak answer dia answer itu salah, dia nampak habis. Ha? Winner ada prize eh? Okay. Wow. Good job you. Yeah, so the answer is interest or usury. So this is similar to Kahoot, so speed and accuracy matters. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Which of the following is not allowed in Islamic finance? Yes. Tak payah. Too much effort lah. Lah. The answer is Hey, good job Baidillah. The answer is investing in alcohol-related businesses. That's not allowed in Islamic finance. Now, let's move on to the next question. In Islamic finance, what does sukuk refer to? Time for the FAs to shine. Can you check the answer first, then the leaderboard? Boleh tak? The answer first, then the leaderboard. Tak boleh eh? Asal aku ni kat sini eh? Tak boleh eh? Okay, the answer is Islamic bonds. The leaderboard is... Tak ada. Okay, we missed the leaderboard, sorry. We move on to the next question then. Which principle in Islamic finance prohibits the payment or receipt of interest, also known as riba? Kan? Ini question ada link? Oh, serius lah? Sempat orang check. Who? Oh, Abu Bakar. On the podium. Okay. The answer is Murabaha, sales contract. Okay, so this question is a bit tough. Don't worry about it. Let's move on to the last question, okay? In musyarakah, what dynamic does the financing arrangement typically take? Ya, aku ingat kata nak letak dia bracket tak Hamzah Hamzah Safang itu kau yang dah habis tu. Aku masih ada. Oh lama. Okay, so on the leaderboard dah tak ada. Ridwan, okay. So the answer is partnership with decision making rights for the lender. Honestly, I also don't know about this, but we learn more about it today. Dah.
The last, okay.
Dah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you all for participating in the quiz. Inshallah, those who are on the leaderboard will get a lot more pahala. Inshallah. Then, oh, it's here. Oh. Yeah, next. Okay, now back to our event. Thank you all for participating actively. Now we move on to the main reason why we all are here, which is to listen to Mr. Sani Hamid share regarding Islamic finance. Sir, please.
Okay, mic test. Can you hear me? Oh, obviously you can. Okay. So where is the slides? Test this. Yeah. All right, thanks. Okay, Assalamualaikum everybody, and thank you very much to the society for inviting me. Nice to be back to. I was just tweeting and saying that I'm back to this same place I started off 30 years ago. I studied here. I actually studied business, stayed in Hall 4. Still around, right? Hall 4? Yeah, okay. Hall 4, I don't know now. Hall what? Hall 20 already, is it? Yeah. A lot of memories here. 3 years, basically. Met my wife in the 3rd year, basically. Yeah. So, they're like, yeah, we have 2 lovely kids now. 2 boys. First boy, eldest is called Hanafi, youngest is called Shafi'i. Yeah. So the 2 mazhabs, but always fighting with one another at home. Yeah. So anyway, today's session also has a little bit got to do with them because both of them are teenagers. One is 19, another one is 17. And I thought that when I asked Ridwan, he told me that everybody here are undergrads. You'll be graduating, a bit older than my kids. But you know, I wanted to give you a session where what are the things that I would want to teach my children as they are moving into university and coming out to work. And I thought it would be good to impart to you those kind of principles, or at least those kind of lessons that I myself would want to teach my own kids. Yeah, makes me feel really old, you know, talking about my kids and talking about yourself. Yeah. So anyway, so the session itself, I will go through 5 basic themes or segments. Each of these segments, in real life, it takes me probably about 4 or 5 hours to go through, and we have these kind of sessions where it lasts like 2 days, sometimes even more, where we really go into detail. And of course, today's we don't have time to do so. So I'm just going to pick really the important stuff, or even just one principle out of each of them. So that I can leave you with a basic foundation of what I think is important. And then for you guys to then follow up with it after this, doing your own research and so on. IFSG has a lot of really good courses every now and then. Please do sign up. Some of them are online and so on. Okay, so let's start. if you've done, or if you're going into, or if you've ever heard of financial planning, you know that these are more or less the pillars of financial planning. Anybody who wants to do financial planning, these are the pillars that you go through when you meet your financial planner. Financial planning basically falls into the area of muamalat in Islam. Yeah? If you look at Islam, it covers many different segments of your life, from janayah, munakahat, family matters, divorce, child custody, and then of course we have this one is muamalat. Yeah? And therefore, Islam, as we always say, is a way of life. Islam is central to everything you do, and therefore even your finances, even your personal finances, it relates to basically you have to do it Islamically. You cannot say everything else I want to do Islamically, ibadah I want to do Islamically, but when it comes to finances, I want to do it conventionally. It doesn't work that way. Okay? So it has to also be done Islamically. So let's go through the first one. Most talks that you attend with regards to financial planning, sometimes they even skip the part about debt. But I want to go into it because I've always felt that this is a major thing which is very, very important. It actually would be the first thing I would teach my kids when I feel the time is come. It's almost there, and I'm now waiting for the right time. They've not earned their money yet, and they haven't gone to university. But once they do so, I will start to teach them about this. I don't know whether you saw in my so-called introduction, I'm also the advisor to a debt advisory center. Okay, so basically, I help to set up in AMP the community's first debt advisory center, where if you have either debt with the banks, money lender, illegal money lender, you can actually go to that center and you can actually get advice from the center. Because a lot of time when you're in debt, you don't know what to do. You feel lost. You know, there are many cases of suicides happening and so on and so forth. So this center actually helps you in terms of advising you what to do, number one. And number two, putting you together with a group of people who share the same problems. Now, I remember that there's this guy who came and he has like 3 or 4 money lenders. He was so sad and under so much stress. You can tell from looking at his face. He went in, he sat in this group with all the other all the other people with problems with money lenders, and he came out smiling. I asked him, so what happened? The guy next to me got 20. The guy next to me got 15. I only got 3. I'm so happy, you know. So that's really a support group where you go in and make you realize that you're not alone, and sometimes your situation is not as bad as other people. Yeah. So basically, these are the things that we do. The Debt Advisory Center has helped basically about 4,000 people to date. In total, about $20 million worth of debt, and so on. Yeah, so it's becoming a big issue in the community itself. So you must be aware that basically in Islam, let me first tell you, is debt prohibited in Islam? Yes, no, yes, bad, no? Yeah. No. There's no single ayat in the Quran or the Hadith which says, wahai orang-orang Islam, janganlah ambil utang and stuff. No, don't have. So that is not prohibited in Islam. Yeah, so that is allowed in Islam. It says that Islam provides guidance on what do you do when you are in debt, what do you do when you are the lender, when you are the borrower and such. In fact, it's kind of not well communicated to the community that while it's not prohibited, try not to get into it. And the reason is very clear, because when you look at the hadith, these 2 hadith basically, okay, whoever dies free from 3 things, arrogance, cheating, and debt, will enter paradise. The soul of a believer is held hostage by his debt in his grave until it is paid off. I mean, just by reading these 2, you know that debt is not a good thing. It can actually prevent you from going to heaven, to entering into paradise itself. Okay? And that's why people, whenever someone passes away, the family members are quite, they want to pay off the debt of the deceased. Yeah, they want to ensure that you go around asking and so on and so forth. Yeah, so and we're living in a world today which basically, let me tell you, and I tell this to my sons today, they carry debit cards, their own debit cards. I tell them, I say, look, if there's anything I think will bring you down in the future, it's credit cards. Because credit cards is an instrument which allows you to live beyond your means. And if you're not well disciplined enough, the people who go to the Debt Advisory Center on average have credit card debts of about 70 to 80,000. And even though they earn only about 4,000 or 5,000, they qualify for the minimum. It's because when you qualify for the minimum, you can get, you walk into OCBC, I'm just mentioning names. You walk into OCBC, you get 1 Visa and 1 MasterCard and 1 credit line. You go into DBS, they give you one Visa, MasterCard, and one credit line. Each of them will probably have about 2 times your salary. So let's say you earn 4,000 nowadays. Okay? I still remember when I first came out, I only earned $1,350. That was my starting salary 30 years ago. I think nowadays, what, 4,000, 3,000 not? Lucky you, but more responsibility. So imagine you earn 4,000 times 2 on your credit card, times 2 on your cash line, 4 times your salary. 4 times 4, 16,000. That's one bank. You go to another bank, it gives you 16,000. Go to another bank, it gives you 16,000. Go to another bank, it gives you 16,000. So you effectively, without any question from the bank, can use up all the maximum 16,000 from all these lines of credit, and all you have to do is just pay it back every month, a certain minimum amount. You don't even have to pay up the full thing, just a certain minimum amount. And once you get stuck, that's it. Because we all know at a certain point when you start borrowing so much and your salary comes in, 40, 50% of your salary goes to paying off your installments, you are at a point where you spiral down and therefore you cannot keep up with your repayment. Okay? So that is really the thing that I think for many of you, if you ask me sincerely, what is that one thing that potentially could bring you down financially? It's your credit cards. Because it allows you to spend much, much more than you actually have. That is a major, major red flag. Okay? So, and of course, Islamically, stay away because everybody wants to go to paradise. Okay? What if you borrow? Islam recognizes the fact that sometimes you need to borrow, and that's why debts are not prohibited. It recognizes the fact that we sometimes in life reach a point where we need to go out and borrow money from people and so on because of necessity. Things like, food, shelter and stuff. So one thing is, Islam allows borrowing, but more for necessity, not for I want to borrow so that I can go Europe and so on and so forth and things like that. No. Okay? So it's more for necessity. But when you borrow, then Islam says you, as the borrower, have responsibilities, and that is actually to repay back the debt. Make an effort to repay back the debt. Okay? If you don't make an effort to repay back the debt, whoever contracts a debt intending to repay it, Allah will repay it on his behalf. Whoever contracts a debt intending to waste it, Allah will bring him to ruins. Very strong wordings. Allah will bring you to ruins. That means tolonglah pinjamkan duit, can I borrow some money from you? Can I borrow money? I'll pay you back when my salary comes in. But you know in your heart that basically you already borrowed so many people already. You don't have the ability to pay. You're just borrowing for the sake of borrowing. That one is you have no intention to pay. Allah will ruin you because it's really said. Okay? So please be careful when you get into this kind of debt spiral and such. It will force you sometimes to do things that normally you would not do. What about those are borrowers. So borrowers must be very careful. What about lenders? Anybody here has lent money to your friends or not? Have you done it? Maybe not so because you don't earn money, but when you start coming out to work, you'll find that sometimes your family members, your friends will come to you and start asking, pinjam sikit, can I borrow a little bit, and so on. You must be very careful. The act of lending money to someone without taking interest, that one you can, we'll talk about riba later, is an act that gives you pahala, gives you good deeds. Okay? The act of lending money to someone. The only problem is when that person doesn't pay, how do you feel? And 9 out of 10 times the person don't pay. You start to get angry. You start to get, your heart darkens. So can you imagine an act which is a righteous act ends up being an act which becomes sinful because you now simpan dendam, your heart becomes darkened. Okay? And therefore, I always tell people, if you think that you're the type of person when you lend money, the person doesn't pay you back, then you sumpah the fella, you don't want to see the fella anymore. There are relationships between brothers and sisters, siblings, family members, relatives that have gone sour because of these kind of things, seriously speaking, and they carry this all the way to their graves and such, which is very bad. And so therefore Allah very beautifully, has said, if you look into this ayat itself, if the debtor is in difficulty, grant him time. So Allah is talking to you, the creditor, the person lending the money, give the person who borrowed money from you time. But if ye remit it by the way of charity, that is best for you, if only you knew. Same thing. Prophet also said something similar. If anyone would like Allah to save him from the hardship on the day of judgment, he should give more time to his debtor who is short of money, or remit his debt altogether. So what Allah is saying and the Prophet is repeating is, look, if you've lent money to someone, person doesn't pay you back, don't allow it to darken your heart. Instead, forgive. Instead, remit, meaning to say, give in charity, say, you don't have to pay me back. Okay? Because why? Because then who will repay you? On the day of judgment, Allah will repay you. How beautiful is that? So Allah is giving you a path to get out from this situation where your heart would have darkened otherwise. Now to say, it's okay. I will seek my recompense on the day of judgment from my Creator. So beautiful, yeah? So always remember that. Do not allow this kind of people who owe you money to make it a sinful act rather than an act of charity. Okay? So the big question is how not to fall into debt. Okay? Let me tell you one simple principle, which I keep on telling and teaching people, how not to fall into debt. Okay? The most simplest way of not falling into debt is actually to be financially stable. And people ask me, what do you mean by financially stable? Financially stable actually means very simply, your income must exceed your expenditure. That's it. You are financially stable if every single month you earn 4,000, you spend 3,000. You earn 5,000, you spend 2,008. You earn 6,000, you spend 5,999. You are still financially stable. You are still financially stable. As long as you earn more than you spend, you are financially stable. Trust me. If you can promise me today that when you start work, every single month you will adhere to this particular principle, you are probably that 1% out of the 99% of the rest of Singapore in your peer group itself. Because very few people adhere to this, but those who adhere to this will find that basically they overcome all their financial problems and such. Why? What happens when you are negative every month? You spend more than you earn. You earn 4, you spend 5, for example. You earn 5. Where does the additional 1,000 come from? Money doesn't grow off trees. It literally means you had to borrow money somewhere, correct? Effectively, let's say, for example, you spend your credit card, you spend more $1,000 because you don't have the money, you had to borrow from the bank to spend that credit card money, or to spend that money via the credit card, correct? The credit line. Or you don't pay your Singtel bill, you don't pay your M1 bill, therefore it sits on your bill there, you owe Singtel 500, you owe utilities 500, you add them together is 1,000, which means you are owing that person. You didn't pay. Because why? You overspend. You spend somewhere else, you don't have money to pay your water bill, you don't have money to pay your telephone bill. So overspending, spending more than you earn, always creates a negative balance. That negative balance must end up somewhere as a debt. That's the definition of a debt. When you cannot pay, you owe someone. Okay? Always remember that. So, if you have a negative balance, 2 things happen. Number 1, if you happen to have savings, lucky enough to have savings, the first thing you would do is, Alhamdulillah, I go and take my savings, pay off whatever excessive spending that I've done. I have salary 4,000, spend 5,000, deficit 1,000. Never mind, I got savings here. Take the savings to pay off that 1,000 which I've overspent. Correct? No problem. Sooner or later, what happens if you do this every single month? What happens to the savings? It goes down to 0. What happens when it goes down to 0? You continue that negative spending every month. Then you don't have anything else to take out from your saving accounts. Your debt starts to increase. Whether it's credit card, whether it's Singtel bill, whether it's M1 bill, whether it's utility bill, the numbers on those bills continue to increase. Why? Simply because you had negative balances over and over and over and over again. So I can guarantee you 100%, okay, that if you have a negative balance, 2 things will happen. Whatever savings that you have, whatever assets that you have, would actually go down to 0. And after it goes down to 0, your debt will start to increase because it's a mathematical formula. Always remember that. Okay? Likewise, if your monthly balance is positive, I earn 4,000, I spend 3,000. Every single month, I have 1,000 extra. When people talk about financial freedom, this $1,000 extra in your hand, that is financial freedom. Financial freedom is not go to the stock market, make money and so on. Financial freedom is having money in your hand every single month. Because why? When you have money in your hand, you are able to decide what you want to do with the money. Aha! I want to invest. I've got $1,000. I can do so at my own free will. I don't have to borrow money to invest. Aha! I've got debt. I can use my $1,000 to pay off my debt. That is called financial freedom. How do you achieve financial freedom? Always ensure that you have a positive monthly balance. A negative monthly balance you will never achieve financial freedom with a negative monthly balance. Only with a positive monthly balance. Understood? Okay. This is something I do, and I kind of teach people when I do these kind of courses. I say, look, one of the ways, there are many ways of doing it. You've got apps and so on. The traditional way that I try to do it is my salary comes in, for example, every month. Okay, I automatically set up all the, they don't call it gyro, they call it standing orders. Standing orders means that automatically it will grab from my salary and it will go to different accounts every single. So I get my salary on the 5th of every month. So I will then have the standing orders kick in on the 6th, just in case, kick in on the 6th. So by the 7th, I tell you, my salary is only left 20-30% of my original salary that came in. Why? Because all the money has been taken out elsewhere. Elsewhere to where? Elsewhere to other places where, for example, I can save a bit. Some of them goes to paying off my car. I actually rent a car. So I rent, so it goes to the leasing company. Some of them goes to paying off my conservancy fees. I'll show you in a while's time. I stay in a condo and such, and so on and so forth. Yeah? So why do that? Because when these are bills that you have to pay. You have to pay your taxes. Sometimes goes to pay taxes. You have to pay your car. You have to pay your house. You have to pay this and that. It's just that these things come throughout the month, correct? They don't all come at one day. The bill will come throughout the whole month. And you don't keep aside some money to pay these things, I can guarantee you by the 4th week or 3rd week of the month when the letter comes or the email comes and says, or the SMS comes, please pay your due, you will ask yourself, where's the money? Where's my money? Because you've spent it thinking that you have the money prior to that. So the simplest and most easiest and most disciplined way is to take the money out, put it one side first. Sometimes I even say prepay the bills first. Listen carefully. Prepay the bills. That means you know you're going to pay the bill. Pay it now. Pay it now. Pay a little bit more. So that you don't have to worry about it. I'll show you in a while's time what I mean by this. Okay? So that when the bill comes, you'll see in a while's time, actually the bill is negative minus. You don't owe the fellow owes you money. Okay? In a while's time I'll show you. Okay? But do this. There are many, you can open up several accounts, there are many Islamic accounts around and so on and so forth. Okay? This is one of the most easiest way to discipline yourself when it comes to managing your monthly money coming in. And this is the thing I was talking about. So I stay in a condo. We have what we call sinking fund and management fund. Where is it? Yeah. So every quarter, they charge us on a quarter basis. It's 672 plus 156, about 800 over bucks. So every quarter, I will receive one bill. Please pay $800 over dollars. You know? And so one fine day, I said to myself many years ago, this is, every time it comes, I have to go and look for $800 or $900 to pay it off. I said, no, why do I just pay $300 to this account every single month? So that's what I did. So from then onwards, $350 in fact, sorry. I pay $350 into this account every single month. I overpay. Yeah? So when two things happen. First thing that happens is when the bill comes, I don't have to worry about paying because I already paid in advance. And the second thing that happens is because I paid in advance, I have extra money here. Some people say, why you want to keep extra money here? We always talk about emergency funds. So emergency funds can be kept in a single account. Fine, no problem. But emergency funds also can be kept in this manner. So if I all of a sudden, let's say I get retrenched, so therefore my gyro or my standing order doesn't come in because no salary comes in. What will happen to this account? Automatically it will take from here. I don't even have to do anything at all. I don't have to transfer from my other account and so on and so forth. You can prepay this, you can prepay your phone account, you can prepay absolutely any account that you have. Okay? Keep a little bit here and there, here and there. We move on to the second topic, protection. Anybody has an idea? Do they have Islamic takafu insurance in Singapore today? No, no takafu, unfortunately. But there are plans to have one. Inshallah, let's all doakan that very soon we may have a takafu here in Singapore. Okay? But beside the point, many youngsters, including my son, he is in NS. He came to me and said, hey, Papa, I have this, my friend took up this insurance. For those of you who went through NS, this is very cheap insurance. I can't remember, from Aviva or something, that you can buy a very huge amount of coverage for a very low amount of premium itself. You know, should I get it? Many youngsters like yourselves may think that there's really no need for me to protect myself. Why? I mean, I don't have a family. I don't have tanggungan beneficiaries or whatever. I don't have, you know, you typically take insurance because you worry that you as the breadwinner, if you're no longer around, your wife or your children have nothing to support. No one supports them financially. Yeah? But even for my son, I said, look, hey, you better get that. Get 1 million. She's like, why 1 million? Well, because if you just go out and suddenly get knocked down by a car and you are in a vegetative state and you are in ICU and then you come out and I have to hook up machines to you, guess who has to pay? I said, no, you're earning some NS money, use your money to buy the insurance. You know? But it's true. Especially when you come out to work, here I found this number, which I don't know whether it's true or still valid, but apparently to bring up a kid is like 285,000, you know, dollars. Now you're like, trying to make calculation where how many kids to have. So I have 4 kids, like $1 million. Huh? So anyway, what I was saying, yeah, your parents have spent so much effort, time and money to bring you up, send you to university, you come out, you get knocked down by a car, you suffer a brain injury for some reason, sporting, rock climbing, or some disease or such, and you become paralyzed, you can't support yourself and so on. Then you expect your parents to continue to support you? You've come to a point where you start earning your own money already. The very least is you can get some insurance, get some protection, so that anything happens to you, even though low probability, it has a high impact. Get some. So that you know if anything does happen to you, your parents are not burdened financially. Emotionally, they will be, but at least financially, they're not burdened. Okay? And it's not expensive. I just went to just now online to do a check. If you were born, so this cohort is born what year? The girls and the guys are different, right? Is this roughly? They don't want to tell me. Okay, let's say you're born in the year 2000, this day, this month, male, okay? I put here non-smoker. You just buy something called a term insurance. It's very cheap. It only covers you for if you die, which is not so bad. If you die, your parents have nothing to worry about. But when you die, financially, your parents have no burden. Financially, they have no burden at all. The problem is if you become terminally ill, also not so bad, because why? There is a time frame, 6 months you're gone. Okay, this is the thing. This is the one that burdens your family, burdens your loved ones when you are still around but not around. Okay. For $28 a month, you can cover yourself for 10 years by paying this $28 a month for 500,000. Even if you double it, $1 million, that's not a lot of money, right? For the what? For the knowledge that if anything happens to me, at the very least, I've given my parents the ability to help me, help myself financially. So all these small little things, do it. Do it, because I think it will help give a peace of mind to everybody. Okay. Yeah. We can talk later on Q&A, and I hope to leave some time for Q&A. Some people may ask, but the insurance policy is non-Sharia compliant. Can we take it up? And so on and so forth. Let's take that as a question later. Okay. Remember to ask. Okay. We'll go on to something called investment. Okay. Many years ago, when I first started out, it was very hard to invest our money Islamically. Today, it's actually, there's no reason whatsoever today for you or anybody else to come up to me and say, Sani, I can't place my money or invest Islamically. Today, you want to put your money into a bank account, whether it's a saving bank account, whether it's a checking bank account, whether it's an Islamic version of a fixed deposit. They don't call it fixed deposit, they call it term. There is. So the banks have what we call the ability for you to place these kind of deposits with them. You want to go and get what we call the unit trust, Amanah Saham and so on, there is available. Not a lot, okay, at least about a dozen or so. Not compared to the conventional, which is a couple of hundred, but alhamdulillah, a dozen is better than nothing. Okay? You want to go to the stock market and start investing, there are now security companies which will help you to filter out Sharia compliant shares, not only in Singapore, but everywhere from Hong Kong to Nasdaq to wherever the case is. So there is no reason why you cannot invest today. Islamically, there is no reason for you to say, I still need to invest un-Islamically, because Islamically is available. Okay? But maybe you ask, but investment, you know, since you say there are more opportunities in the conventional side, why should I invest in a Sharia compliant manner? Okay? There's some people who still ask. You know, Muslims are a funny lot. When it comes to ibadah, my God, they have debates over whether your tahiyat akhir, your jari like this or like this, or why he rukuk like this or he stand like this or stuff like that. We have debates on these kind of things, you know. But when it comes to money, wow, this one higher return, okay, good. Yeah, no. But actually, as I told you, no. Islam encompasses everything, including the way you invest your money. And that is where everybody got the riba question correct, right? But mostly, can you find out who didn't? I'm just kidding. Okay. So anyway, riba. If there's one thing when you leave the hall today that I want you to remember is this. Okay? Dim the lights. It is a major sin. Major sin. Not minor, not moderate. It is a major sin. Okay? I remember we had this Ustad, Zahruddin Abdul Rahman, very famous Ustad in Malaysia, come down many years ago. We filled the Masjid Sultan auditorium because he was very famous. Hundreds of people came. And he was standing here in the podium and said, okay, everybody, let me try and explain this riba thing to you as best as I can. Imagine today if I had haram food, bak kut teh, char siu pao, wonton noodle, all these things here on one side. Okay? And then I had riba here, literally riba here, riba money or whatever, but it's riba. Okay? And you had to make a choice, ceteris paribus, everything else remaining constant, choose this or choose this. Nothing else. You have only just two choices to make. Do you know that unanimously across the world, you would be very hard pressed to find a scholar which would disagree, but unanimously across the world, all scholars in the whole wide world says, enjoy the bak kut teh, char siu pao and wonton noodle. Because this is not a major sin. This is a major sin. This is a major sin. Okay? You must remember, or you must know, okay, then the question is where, why, where, when, how, what, why, and so on. Surah Baqarah, verse 278. You remember this for the rest of your life. Believers, who is Allah talking to? To us. In the Quran, when he says believers, he's talking to us, Muslim. When he's talking to everybody else, he says mankind, so and so. Believers, be careful of your duty to me. Relinquish whatever remains of riba if you are true believers. But if you do not, then be informed of war from Allah and His Messenger. What is Allah doing? He is declaring war on who? Muslims, you and me. For doing what? For being involved in riba. This is the only ayat in the whole entire Quran where Allah declares war on a Muslim. The only ayat in the whole Quran. And that is why scholars throughout the world are unanimously in agreement. Riba is major because Allah Himself has said, Allah and His Messenger will declare war on the person involved in riba. Nothing else. The only debate that has come up from here is the definition of riba. Some scholars say, oh, lesser amount, no problem. Last time, high amount. And certain things are riba, certain things are not, and so on. So okay, that one, we keep it aside. But with respect to riba, it is the only thing that has caused Allah. So you can go and pray, you can do your tahajjud, you can go umrah, you can do 10 times hajj, you can fast, you can pay your zakat, you can do your sadaqah and what, and if you still are involved in riba, Allah declares war on you, despite the fact that you've done all these good things. It just doesn't add up, right? So you need to move away from this. So this is very important. Even the Prophet ﷺ, in his farewell sermon, we know that farewell sermon was a very short sermon. It's not a very long sermon. And the Prophet purposely chose things, women and so on and so forth, pembahagian harta and so on and so forth. And one of it was, Allah has forbidden you to take usury. So it just goes to show, he wanted to reinforce in his final sermon things that were important, and he didn't forget to add this on. Yeah? And some of you may ask, but then my bank only give me 0.5%. What harm is that? 0.5%, no big deal. It's not as though maybe money lender charging 20-30% per month, that's riba, but my 0.5, what problem is there? Well, let me ask you this. You all remember this Quran probably, this ayat, and they ask you, Muhammad SAW, concerning wine and gambling. In them, there is great sins and some benefit. So the acknowledgement is there is some benefit in drinking and there's some benefit in gambling. And Allah has acknowledged it. There is. Okay? Except that, but the sin is greater than the benefit. Does Allah make it clear that you have to, it's prohibited? So there is good in it, but the sin is greater. Similarly to riba itself. Some people argue, I get 0.5, I get 2%, it's enough for me to pay my zakat, it's enough for me to pay to cover inflation and so on and so forth. Maybe at your level, when you start earning a little bit of this, you may find that it's beneficial to you. But there is a greater sin. Okay? And the greater sin basically is to society. It outweighs the benefit to individuals, basically. So the prohibition of riba, whenever you come across it and you start questioning, a little bit is okay. Always remember, it's not about you. It's the same as drinking. I drink, I can hold my glass of wine. Why am I prohibited to drink it? I go play my Chinese New Year coming. I actually know how to play mahjong, do you know that? Play. Okay? After that, exchange $2, $1 for fun. Doesn't hurt anybody, what? Doesn't make me into an addict, correct? But why is it prohibited for me? Because Allah said there's a greater sin. And the problem is, you cannot define where that threshold is. Allah doesn't say 20 milligrams of alcohol, above that cannot. Because different people have different tolerance level. Same thing with gambling. Some people can just gamble away and then after that walk away and forget about it. Yeah? So same thing with riba and stuff like that. When Allah says don't. And in this particular case, He says don't. He's added on a very, very big prohibition. So always remember that. In the Q&A, we can also talk about why I'm an economist. We can talk about why I believe interest is actually detrimental to not only society but to economies at large. Okay, please remember to bring that up during the Q&A. We're in the investment portion. Let's talk about what is the ultimate investment for a Muslim. Anybody? Charity. Different types of charity. Wakaf. Why? It's all because of what the Prophet said. When someone dies, all his good deeds shall cease except for three things: continuous charity, charitable acts, knowledge that is beneficial, and fellow children who pray for him. Okay? Let's start with from the bottom first. Fellow children. I have two kids. I told you I named them very well. Hanafi, Shafi'i. I always pray that, Ya Allah, jadikanlah mereka anak yang soleh, and so on and so forth, and stuff like that, But can I guarantee that they will grow up like that? I tell you today, I say, hey, stop playing your PS4 and go to bed. I now cannot control them already. So children, as much as we want, we cannot control them. Now I teach you everything, riba, 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 riba. You go walk outside, suddenly you see 10% conventional returns, you also go and take. I still cannot control you. I teach you knowledge, but I cannot control you. The only thing that I can control is the charities that I make, the charitable endowments, the wakaf that I personally make, I can control. Because the other two things is in the hands of other people, my kids and yourself, which I cannot control the both of you. So why is it important? Because the Prophet said, when you die, and when I die, Nauzubillah, I don't know how I will die, whether I will die with more sins and more parlor, correct? More good deeds. We hope that we die with more good deeds, but does anybody know? No. You can be the most pious of person, but you also cannot guarantee. Allah may not have accepted any single prayer. Who knows? And let's just take myself an example. I die with more sins than good deeds. That means my account is in deficit when I enter my grave. And if I do not have any one of these three things, when I am awakened on the day of judgment in Padang Mahsyar, and I stand in front of my Lord, basically my Creator, my account is like that, deficit. But can you imagine the beauty of lying underneath 6 feet underground, and then you see streams of glowing light coming into your grave and giving, and then suddenly your negative starts to turn. And when you're arisen on the day of judgment, you yourself will ask, kenapa? How come now I have like more, my face brighter already? I have more pahala than dosa. What happened? And then you realize it was the wakaf that I gave during my lifetime, which continuously gave me good deeds, even though I was dead. Why? Because the Prophet himself said so. So that is the only thing that can save you if you enter your grave in a negative manner, to ensure, inshallah, that you arise on the day of judgment with a balance sheet which is the other way around. This is how important this thing is. Okay? We will talk about, you can ask and you can even research wakaf. What is it? It's a perpetual endowment. You give charity, fine, it's good. All good and dandy. But wakaf refers to a charity which lasts in perpetuity. And that's why a long time ago, people used to give perigi, wells, land. Al-Azhar University is a wakaf. It's like how many hundreds of years now. Things that are more permanent in nature. Today, basically, MUIS has wakafs. You give $1 to MUIS, MUIS will take your $1 and bring together all the money from other people, invest it Sharia compliant wise, make some money out of it, and basically take the returns and give it to the madrasas for them to operate. Where's your $1? Still there. Next year, where's your $1? Still there. As long as MUIS is around, still there. Which means if you die today and you had made that wakaf, inshallah, you will continue to receive it as long as your $1 is still there. That is a perpetual endowment. Okay? Not a temporary one. Okay, estate planning. We move on to this segment, which is basically, this is quite fun to know. When you get married, or even today in your own household, okay, if you have sons, okay, let's say your father or your husband here, okay, you have a son, and your father's father is still around. If you happen to die, the proceeds of your assets all will go to your immediate family. Wife will get, daughter will get, son will get, your mother is still around will get, your father is still around will get. None of it will go to anybody else outside your family. So today, if you look into your own family structure, let's say for example, because your daughters are here, sons are there. Okay? For your side, if you do not have a male sibling, okay, that's number one. If your grandfather is not around, number two, that means you do not have male heirs in the family structure. No brother, no grandfather. If your father happens to pass on, part of his assets will go out to either his brothers or his siblings. Okay? Not necessarily a bad thing, okay? But when we say estate planning, there are certain circumstances where the husband recognizes the fact that my siblings, I haven't seen them for a long time. I know that my siblings are not going to take care of my family. So some planning must be done, okay? Because it goes out from the family itself. Just to let you know, today in Singapore, we're quite advanced. I as a husband can give my wife even before, I forgot to tell you, this is called Faraid. Okay, Faraid kicks in after the death of a Muslim. Even before Faraid kicks in, I can pass some assets over to my wife. These three things I can pass on to my wife. My HDB, my condo, any insurance policies that I have, the proceeds, and also my CPF through something called a nomination. So quite advanced in here. Even Malaysia, they don't have all this at this particular point in time. Anyway, okay. One of the key things for you as undergrads, individuals coming out and such, is to do a will, a wasiat, a will. Okay, a will. Muslims, non-Muslims can do will, and Muslims can do will. Okay, can you don't do a will? Can, no problem. But I would highly encourage you to do it. Okay, why? Few things. A Muslim can will away up to 1/3 of his or her assets. The 2/3 must go in accordance with what has been determined in Faraid. Non-Muslims, you can will away 100%. You want to give 100% to your girlfriend, not to your wife, and so on and so forth, can be done. In Islam, cannot. This has to go to your immediate family, and depending on the composition, may also go to siblings and so on and so forth. Okay, but you are able to will away 1/3. This one you want to will away to anybody, also can, charity, SPCA, whoever. So it doesn't have to be Muslim. You have the right to will away to anybody you want. Yeah, I know. I not will away to my kucing. I can read your mind. Okay. Where is it? And this wasiat is very important, for a few reasons. Okay. Muslim converts. When you convert, basically, your parents are non-Muslims, correct? And when you die, your parents are not under your Faraid because they're not Muslims. The only way you can give back to your non-Muslim parents, which you ought to, scholars are quite unanimous, they say, although they're non-Muslims, they brought you up. You need to respect them. You need to show that Islam has a good nature towards it. So you give your non-Muslim parents through this side of it, because they can receive it. Adopted children. Officially, if you adopt a child, they also don't fall under your Faraid. So you need to make sure that if you have an adopted child, you need to put them under here. Okay? Albeit financial planning or estate planning, there are many ways. And then there are things, I won't say funny, but let's say daughters and sons. We have people coming to us. I have 3 daughters, I have 1 son. I want to samaratakan. I want to make sure everybody gets the same. Okay? And so can I do it in a will? You can't do that in a will. But there are other ways to do it. You put down on your will, I want to give my daughter and because your daughter and sons fall under here, right? And here they have prescribed ratios. And Allah has prescribed those ratios, and you cannot say, I want to change those ratios. You can't. The ratios are fixed. So what do? We said, let's try and get it as close as possible. Okay, you have a bank account. Why don't you put your daughter as a joint account holder? So when you pass on, your daughter gets that money. And when your daughter gets that money, plus the Faraid money, it comes to almost the same as what the brother gets. You almost samaratakan. Why don't you nominate some of your CPF to this second daughter? Why don't you nominate the insurance to the third daughter, so that everybody then, the daughters will get from a different source. When they add back with what they get from the Faraid, it almost equals the son or the brother. So there are ways to do it. Okay? So always remember that. In your wasiat, there are paragraphs. I forgive anybody who has borrowed money from me, and I do not seek from them any recompense. I will just give it in charity. Why do I do that? Do you remember the slide I told you about, the debt one? If you want Allah to repay you on the day of judgment, you remit your debt. So the wasiat can help you remit your debt. Because maybe you lend money to so many people, you have no time to go to each and every one of them to remit it. The wasiat, you say, alas, don't have to repay me back. Okay? Wakaf. I told you need to do wakaf. But what if you're forgetful? What if you're like most Singaporeans, asset rich, cash poor, don't have any cash to do any wakaf today, then you can say in your wasiat, I want to will away, could be 1/3 or could be 10%. In my particular case, 10% to Muiz wakaf. So I'm certain now when I die, the administrator to my assets will say, under his wasiat, he says that take 10%. Okay, please take 10%, give to me. Automatically, a wakaf is done. Okay, because sometimes we forget to do when we're alive. At the very least, with a wasiat, it's automatically done. And the last part, zakat and haji. And why do I put this? Because in my experience in this line for the past 10 years, I've been in this, prior to working with financial advisory, I work more in the so-called finance sector. Okay? In this line, I do a lot of individuals, Muslim families and such. And I find people tend to pay not enough attention to these things. Okay. What are these 5 things here? Pillar of Islam. You consider yourself a Muslim, you say your Shahadah. And after you say your Shahadah, you pray, you fast, you give zakat, and if possible, you go for your Hajj. And therefore, you are considered, of course, mentioning your Shahadah, you are a Muslim already. But with that comes what we call your responsibility, correct? And your responsibility of professing to be a Muslim is, at the very least, I must do this. And I remember a story, and I think Ridwan will correct me if I'm wrong, a story whereby during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, Bedouins came to him and asked him, if I only do these 5 things, can I go to heaven? And the answer is yes, as long as you don't do major sins. These 5 things. You don't have to go and memorize the Quran. Of course, I'm saying, not that I say don't. I say you don't have to memorize the Quran in order to ensure. You don't have to do this. You just do these 5 basic things. These are the pillars of you being a Muslim. And that is enough if you don't do any major sins to get you into in the doors of heaven. Okay? And therefore, paying zakat is very important. Don't forget. It's 2.5% on certain assets. Cukup haul, cukup nisab, one period of time and a certain amount, nisab. Once you cross those 2 conditions, you must pay zakat. Zakat is payable on savings, zakat is payable on gold, zakat is payable on a few other things. I won't go into detail. Okay, but you remember, you must pay. A lot of people don't remember that. Okay, and some people not only don't remember, some people just don't want to. Very sadly, I've seen people who have bank accounts, 100,000 sitting in a bank account. Bank only earns them 0.5%. Why do I need to pay zakat? I don't even have enough. If I pay zakat, I got negative returns. Bank gives me 0.5, I pay 2.5, I got a negative real returns of 2%. Why do I have to pay? The answer is not, the question is not why you have to pay. The question is, the money doesn't belong to you. It is a commandment by Allah. If you consider yourself a Muslim, it is upon you to do so. Without question. Without even asking that question. You must do it. Okay? You don't ask why I have to pray, right? You don't ask why I have to fast. So you don't ask why I have to pay zakat. You just have to pay zakat when you profess to be a Muslim. Okay? Hajj. I signed up for Hanafi, my elders, the other day. 17,000 people are in front of him. Have you all signed up? No. Those of you who haven't, please do. Because there will be 17,001 people now in front of you. You can do so even at this age. Okay, please do so. If you come to me and you question and say, in that case, why do I bother to sign up? There's 17,000 people. You divide it by the fact that Singapore has 600 quotas a year, it probably ends up about 50, 60 years before your turn comes. The answer to that question is why should I bother to do so is, I'm a Muslim, it's part of my faith, I should strive to do it. Whether I get it at the end of the day, it actually is, in whose hands? Allah's hands. If all of a sudden He wants me to go, I tell you the next day you can go. He will make it happen really. But if you don't put in the effort, then definitely you can't go. No application how to go. You must show that your effort is there. That's why we are telling our clients, apply, don't worry about whether it's 50, 60 years. Inshallah, if Allah wants to invite you, He can invite you almost immediately. Secondly, make the effort. Set aside money. Set aside money to go for your Hajj. We have this portfolio, set aside money. Meanwhile, go for your Umrah. Get a taste of it. Tell Allah, Allah, I can't, if my time hasn't come yet for going for Hajj, never mind. I will see you during the Hajj. I will go for, during Umrah. I will go for my Umrah first to get a taste of it. To show that I'm really eager to go. You must show these kind of things. Yeah? Instead, I have friends, nak pergi Korea, tengok BTS, so on and so forth. I said, no, why don't you just do this first? Set it aside first. Then you want to do whatever you want to do, you go lah. So do these kind of things. Okay? Because why? Because it is, if it wasn't a pillar, I would not be here standing and asking you to do so. Because it is a pillar and we profess to be Muslims. Alright? Okay. So I do apologize, like all the talks I give, for any shortcomings, for anything that I may have accidentally said or such. Please forgive me. And my niyat is that whatever I've taught you is a waqaf. So inshallah, if you use it properly, hopefully it comes back to me, inshallah. Yeah, and please do. I hope you benefit from whatever I have given you. That's my email address. You need to get to me, ask me questions. Please feel free to do so. Okay? I believe we have a Q&A.
Yeah.
Q&A? Okay, so I'm supposed to be seated down here. Okay, Ken. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sani Hamid, for the insightful talk. Can we give him a round of applause? Can we give him a round of applause, please? So, actually, the coffee for you.
Oh, coffee is for mine. Oh, for me. Sorry.
Now we'll be moving on to Q&A session. So please do scan your QR code and ask your questions away. Someone else to YouTube.
Oh, got food also. Okay.
Okay, you enjoy your time first. Huh?
Yeah, can.
Waiting for them to key in there.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem at all. So it's Slido, is it?
Yeah. That's all.
Okay, no worries.
Then the
Thanks. Thank you. Alhamdulillah. Thanks. Questions are coming up. Wow.
okay. First question? What is the case of the daughters whose father has died? HDB and CPF are given to the wife, which is nominated before death, and HDB does not allow joint ownership.
Sorry, what?
You can
Maybe. What is the case of the daughters whose father has died? Okay, so we're assuming there's no brothers, there's no son. Oops.
the first one.
HDB and CPF are given to the wife. Let's say they nominated before that. Okay. Okay, and HDB does not allow joint ownership. HDB does allow joint ownership. It's either joint tenancy or tenancy in common. So automatically, so in this case, because it's not a lot of details, let's assume that basically there are no brothers. The so-called father may be around, may not be around, I don't know. So the two assets, HDB and CPF, transfer to the wife. Imagine you're my wife. Okay, transfer to you first. Okay. Okay. Then whatever that's remaining, the money in the bank account, my shares that I sell, I liquidate, my other assets, that really depends. If the father is still around, that means the grandfather is still around, or there's a son around, then it will go to all the daughters, the son, the father, the grandfather, the grandmother, the wife, again in accordance to Fara'id ratios. The question is, if there's no son and there's no grandfather, then my siblings will come into the picture. They get a portion of it. Yeah. So really it's a question of that composition, which is not stated here.
Okay. Then we move on to the next one.
Yeah.
How can interest have negative effects on an individual's life or society?
Yeah, okay. So this is what I asked you to ask me, right? So I'm an economist. I'm a macroeconomist. So I deal with things at 30,000 feet levels. Okay. So the way I normally explain this is, for example, let's assume we are now living in a particular country. All of you are the penduduk, the population of the country. Okay, I'm the central bank. I issue a billion worth of currencies, for example, Singapore dollars, lah. Let's say, for example, okay, hypothetically, okay. The currency is circulating in the economy. You all use it. Okay. It goes through the bank. You're the bank, for example, and you charge. Let's use a big number so it's easy to understand. But it can be any number, 10%. Okay, I'm using it just so that it's easy to calculate. Okay, so you lend out that money supply which I gave to you, which is $1 billion Sing dollars, for all the businesses and people to use and transact and so on and so forth. But you lend it out to the system at 10% interest. Okay. So at the end of 1 year, $1 billion, 10% interest is how much?
100 million.
100 million, right? Okay. So let's assume now that you recall back the loans. Okay, you recall back all the loans. Within that transaction that has taken place within a year, some of you would have surpluses, some of you would have deficits, right? Some of you may do business, you make it, you don't make it, whatever the case is. Okay. So you recall back the loans now. The central bank, had issued 1 billion worth of money supply. You had disseminated the money supply to the general public or through the economy. Okay. Now you're requesting back and calling back the loans, which is 10%, $1.1 billion. Can the economy give you back that $1.1 billion? Why? If someone says no, why cannot? Huh? But in terms of quantity of money supply, I issued 1 billion. He's now requesting you guys to return 1.1 billion. You give back, you give back, you give. Some of you guys will be on the deficit side, okay, because after trading, whatever the case is. Imagine you put in your 100% effort, look under every rock, you go and do Grab, whatever the case is, to try and earn more and more money just to repay back your loan. Can you repay it back? You can't. Because accounting-wise, it just doesn't match. So you are asking for 1.1 billion from a system which only has 1 billion. How do you balance the balance sheet? And the answer is 100 million worth of loans have to then enter into bad debts, repossessed loans. You are being oppressed. No matter how hard you work, you just cannot find that single dollar to pay back because it doesn't exist anymore. He's absorbed 1 billion. The 100 million that still needs to be absorbed, hey, give me back my 100 million. But you can't find it. It doesn't exist. Doesn't exist, I take your collateral. Doesn't exist, I make you bankrupt. I force you to sell your house and give me the money. Is that oppressive or is that a fair system? That's an oppressive system. So Allah will never allow these kind of systems to exist, and that's why interest is considered to be oppressive.
So I guess that's the hikmah behind why riba is considered a
from an economist's perspective. There are other people who have different perspectives and such.
Interesting. Okay, so the next question is, how do we set up an investment account? Is Momo halal? Don't worry, the part 2 of Finance 101 will be about investments.
Depends on how you symbolize the mumu. Because mumu is, for those who don't know, mumu is the cow, right? Actually, I don't know. We actually have mumu. I don't think mumu is halal, if I'm not wrong. It's not so much sometimes of the vehicle. It's more of what you buy. Okay, because we did ask that we have a Sharia advisor actually, our firm. We have a Sharia advisor, so we debate these things. So there are certain investment-linked policies. These are insurance policies which allow you to buy funds. So we asked him once before, the policy is conventional, but the funds are Sharia compliant. Is that allowed? He said yes. He said at the end of the day, it's because you're owning the funds. This is just a vehicle to get to the funds itself. It's as though you walk into Maybank conventional and bought a Maybank Islamic fund. Does that mean it's haram? No. Just because it was in the conventional bank, it doesn't matter. There was just a vehicle for you to attain the Sharia compliant fund. Yeah, so Mumu itself, I don't know whether it's halal, probably doesn't matter. What matters is what you buy through Mumu. Okay? That you must ensure that it's Sharia compliant.
So essentially, Mumu just avoid it.
No, that's why I say actually you can go through Mumu, but when you buy a share through Mumu, okay, let's say you buy Apple. Is Apple Sharia compliant? You sure? Now with so much cash on Apple's balance sheet, because Sharia, okay, just for your knowledge, companies when they are considered to be Sharia compliant have to pass two filters. Filter number one is business activity. Their business activities have to be Sharia compliant. Number two is a bunch of ratios. Yeah, and these ratios, the problem with the challenge with these ratios is these ratios change as they increase their cash holding, as they increase their debt issuances, and so on. So there are instances where companies fall in and out of Sharia compliance. So you need to just ensure. There is, I don't know whether I should mention it, but there is one particular securities company here in Singapore which offers Sharia screening from the start. That means you go in, you tell them, I only want Sharia stocks, they will give you the screener, and everything you screen is Sharia compliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't want to mention this because I don't want to promote stuff and stuff like that. Yeah, independent.
Okay, you can let me know later, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, for another question, I think it's a more popular question.
In Malaysia, sometimes they give hints, So this particular thing I'm talking about, this firm, octopus, relating to octopus. There's a bank in Malaysia with an octopus. You don't know? One harimau, right? Harimau is quite, there's one with octopus. So the security company here relating to this octopus bank is the one that provides the Sharia compliant. Now everybody's confused. Apa sotong pula ni?
Sotong is squid.
Oh, squid, yeah. Sorry, squid.
Okay. I think this one is a more popular question. In the interest credit that I receive in my OCBC savings account, which is around 8%, 8 cents per month, depending on my savings, is this considered riba as well?
Yes.
Then how do we purify it? What can we do about it?
What do you do about it?
Yeah.
Okay, good question. You need to cleanse it. That means you need to get rid of the 8 cents, even if it's 8 cents. You don't want to play around with the fact that Allah declares war on people who have riba. You take the 8 cents, you go to the masjid, and you just throw it in the box. Make sure no one sees you. And I'm serious when I say no one sees you. Because why? It's riba money. You're not supposed to gain any credibility out of giving away riba money. You're not giving a donation. You cannot go to the counter, talk. Here's my 8 cents of money. Oh, Cik Sani, bagusnya. Alhamdulillah, Cik Sani ni, wow, you're so charitable. You are gaining from riba money, right? You're gaining credibility. You're not supposed to gain. It's already a bad thing, and then now you want to action, gain credibility from it. Cannot. So that's why anonymity is very important when it comes to riba money. Okay, this one I personally would think no, but I guess I to be honest with you, I don't know whether you can just give to someone itself. Okay, what I do know is the receiver of a riba money is not upon him to then say it's haram money, because the Prophet ﷺ himself has actually dealt with Jewish traders and bought things and got money from them, and for all you know, the money that he Prophet received was riba money, but so the receiver, there's no problem at all. But the question is whether you can just simply give it to people or not. I'm not sure. Well, we've always been told just give it to the mosque or charitable and stuff like that. But people, I'm not sure what you refer to, like just some beggar on the street or whatever. Yeah. The question on this beggar on the street, there's something which I teach my children. And alhamdulillah, they follow me. They see anybody, they will give. Then my wife is, hey, this one, how you know that behind there got one Ferrari, beggars behind there, in Malaysia, there are cases where beggars are actually well off and it's a scam and stuff like that. And my answer to my wife and to my kids are this: how do we know? I said, I'd rather be safe on the day of judgment to say that I've given. If it's a scam, Allah will reward me for my charity. Allah will condemn the person. But what if this is that one person who really needed my $2 on that day for his food? So I just typically I give, and my kids will just give, basically.
So it's important to have good assumptions. Even if you are wrong, you still benefit.
I think so too. Yeah.
And also to add on to this question, can we use the money to pay for road taxes?
Cannot. No, you're talking about riba money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people. build roads lah, this and that, cannot. By right, cannot. Yeah. Always remember, in Islam, there are people who have different viewpoints. Okay? We cannot say that what other people's viewpoints are also totally wrong. We also cannot say. Our viewpoint is cannot.
Alright. So if there's any question from the ground, you can also raise your hand. Then now we'll bring you the mic and we'll give priority to your question also. Yeah. So for the next question regarding the faraid ratio, if you give the equal portion to the daughters through other means, wouldn't that be the same as changing the ratio in Quran?
That's what?
Regarding the faraid ratio, if you give the equal portion to the daughters through other means,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be the same as changing the ratio in Quran?
Or changing the ratio. Effectively, your daughters will receive, but the method in which your daughters receive is actually halal, i.e., you're giving it while you're still alive, you're putting in place these measures while you're still alive. That's okay. Yeah, it's estate planning, it's financial planning. You can do that, no problem. It is not okay to state in your will that I want to give everything equal to all my children. Cannot. That one is clear cut.
That's going against the faraid rule.
That one will go. That is against the faraid rule. Yeah, you want to give hibah, a gift to your daughter by naming her as your joint account holder. That's allowed.
I think we have one question from the ground.
Yes, please.
I wanted to ask about owning a vehicle in Singapore. You reach your car instead of buying it.
Yes.
Obviously, you cannot. Some of us over here will be inspired to buy a G-Wagon or to car motorcycle.
Oh, you have to mention G-Wagon. Yeah. Yeah.
We cannot pay cash. So we have to pay monthly.
Okay. Okay.
So how do we go around about it? Are we cannot pay monthly or like is there a reason behind you?
Okay. There was some religious aspect on that, but actually it was more of different matters that I leased my car. Okay, but let me just address this thing about loans and such. Okay. So when it comes to housing, there are scholars who say that in absence of Islamic housing finance, i.e., financing loan to buy a house here, you are allowed to take a conventional one for the first house because you need to live in a house. Okay, and it's almost impossible to pay cash. Okay, there are scholars who say the second house is okay. Investment property is still okay to use a loan. In fact, the previous Mufti I know had that because he and I actually was on the same panel with him. I said second one cannot. He went on to say second one can. Well, I'm like, so I'm more stricter than him, you know. So there are differences, and if you want to be even more, you want to be strict, cannot even take the loan, go and rent. Then, so I won't say anybody is wrong, anybody is right, but these are the three ways. Even the Mufti can say he can take a second. And I asked him, I said, Tuan Mufti, kenapa boleh ambil ni? Bukankah riba? Dia kata, this one is basically, if you look at it, if the community doesn't get involved in hartanah, they will get left behind. So he said this is for the maslahah of the community and stuff, which is acceptable. But I personally think first one is okay. You want to get involved nowadays, you can buy your REITs, buy shares of a property company. You can also get involved in property. So different people have different way of approaching. Back to the car itself, same thing. Some people will say rent. I personally rent a car, and this one maybe not so much on the Islamic side because of the convenience. A previous car I had was a Continental car. Whenever I send it to a workshop, I would have just high blood pressure because it came back at 4 figures. Sorry. Just for your knowledge, I pay 1,700 for my car today. Okay? I don't have to worry about insurance, which used to be also a big headache because it comes once a year. I don't have to worry about road tax. I don't have to worry about maintenance because I said they actually come to my house, give me a replacement car, take my car to do maintenance. They take my car to go and do inspection. They take my car to do any recall or anything like that. Okay, tires. Anybody who drives here knows that changing 4 tires is a big thing on your wallet. They also do that. So 1,700, team, everything. That's to me it's a lot of financial certainty and financial discipline into that. I pay 1,700, everything done. Yeah, so that was more of it rather than the religious, I have to admit. Yeah.
Okay, so
that was more of the guys car stuff.
Yeah, so due to the interest of time, we have one more question. Last one by Amsha. Please.
Assalamualaikum.
Okay, salam.
Another question. Considering how much you emphasize that riba is
Yes.
forbidden,
Yes.
I think it's important to address an interest that every Singaporean will have to encounter, which is CPF. Is annual CPF interest considered riba?
Good question. Yeah, MUIS doesn't consider it as riba. Okay, I was in discussion with our own Sharia advisor. We consider it as riba, so we are in the minority, so to say. So you can always follow what MUIS say because MUIS is the authority here. Okay, but if you're going to ask me, I would say basically it is. Okay, so again, different views doesn't necessarily mean one is right, one is wrong. Okay. I think this brother had a question. You had your hands up, right? I saw you. Huh? Insurance being Sharia compliant, right? Sorry? Protection, risk protection or protecting against risk is Sharia compliant. It is actually, you know, the story of tying your camel, right? Yeah. Prophet said, I think, sorry, my apologies. You tie your camel and then leave it in the hands of Allah. You don't not tie your camel and leave it in the hand of Allah. You do whatever you can to take care of the risk. So insurance concept is compliant, very much like food is compliant, except that food also has a halal and non-halal. Then the insurance, how you approach it, whether it's the conventional contracts or it is the Islamic contracts, the takaful. One is basically risk transfer, one is risk sharing. So this is actually okay. But in the context of Singapore, where there are no takaful insurance, what do you do? So we believe that basically, based on the principle of darurah, okay, for families whom we ascertain, if you're the father, if you pass away, the mothers will be left in a bad situation financially, then it is upon you to take a conventional insurance based on darurah. And darurah has certain conditions that you must follow. You all know the condition. All know the principle of darurah. The most famous of all is if you get stuck in the hutan, in the jungle, and you're almost on the verge of death, and a nice pig comes along, toing, 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 toing. Can you eat the pig? Can. Yes, some of you look astonished. No, can. You can. You are asked or you are required because you need to stay alive. So something which is haram becomes halal under the principle of darurah. But can you eat the pig until you like super full like that? Like, under the api. No, you are only allowed to eat enough to stay alive. Not to, and when the darura ends, when you're already rescued, can you say I've acquired a taste for pigs, for pork? Cannot, right? So darura has very strict principles, only to the extent that you need, only to keep you out of harm, okay? And you cannot continue it when there are alternatives. Here pig, toing, toing, toing. Here rabbit, toing, toing, toing. Which one do you take? Rabbit, because less, yeah? So things like that, when an alternative comes with, so we say you can take a conventional insurance, but with terms and conditions. Term number one, don't take excessive. Take a certain amount. What is that amount? If you have kids which are 4 and 5 years old, these kids will grow up in 20 years' time. So you only can take 20 years. Because why? After they grow up, they can look after the mother. Take how much? How much does the mother need every single month to bring these kids up? $5,000. 20 years times $5,000, index it with inflation. What's that number? That number is $500,000. Then you can take 20-year, $500,000 insurance. So that's how we ascertain what your darura is. We limit it to a certain thing. We don't say, since there's no takaful, take whatever you want. And that's not our way of doing it. Yeah, hope that helps.
So ultimately, in Singapore's context, especially with this insurance, riba, and investments, there's a lot of difference of opinions. It depends on which one you're more comfortable with, is it? Right.
There are different opinions in the way we treat things. So you must be very. So I give you an example. Without insurance, we have some competitors or some people out there who say there's no insurance takaful, you can take conventional, no problem at all. Some people do that. Okay. Some people like us who say there's no takaful, you can take, but you must be very selective and within certain terms and conditions. We are so strict that travel insurance can or cannot take. To us, take. If you lose your bag, you get a delay, it's $200 you can claim, don't claim. Because the instrument is a haram instrument and $200, unless it's darura to you, don't claim. If you need a medical evacuation, cost you 200,000, you're down with some problem and your ICU in South Korea, in ICU for 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, cost you $300,000. You cannot afford it, then you claim. Haram instrument become halal because of darura. So that same instrument can on one aspect become haram, stay haram because it's not darura, $200 claim for delayed baggage or lost passport, but can become halal if it's 200,000 ICU, whatever the case, because it's darura. So you see how we approach it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Sani Hamid, for answering all our questions.
No, not at all.
Yeah. On behalf of the training and development team,
Any more questions? Huh? Got more questions behind. Do we have time?
yeah,
I'm okay if you have time, but I'm just afraid everybody needs to move on.
sorry, we're getting a bit late.
Getting a bit late, I know, sleeping time.
Um, on behalf of the training and development team, I'd like to express our heartfelt gratitude and appreciation for taking the time to come down today and share knowledge on this topic. The presentation was truly enlightening, and I believe everyone here has gained a deeper and more refined understanding of Islamic finance. If you all have more questions, you can also ask in part 2 of Islamic finance that will be shared on later in this presentation.
Thank you.
Huh? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Now, allow me to share more regarding IFSG's upcoming events. They will be having a symposium on 24 February, which will be attended by a string of esteemed asatizas and financial experts. If you're interested in attending, do scan the QR code shown beside in the poster here. Also, do scan the QR code on the right side of the screen to join IFSG's Telegram channel to get the latest update on their upcoming events. Do also follow their Instagram as shown from the link below of the screen. Okay. Also, you can ask the questions that were left unanswered in this Telegram group as well. We'd like to thank Mr. Sani Hamid for graciously spending his evening with us for this event. Lastly, we thank all of you, our participants, for taking the time to join us today. On behalf of the training and development team, we apologize if we have spoken anything intentionally or unintentionally that might have hurt any of your feelings. Any good comes from Allah, and anything imperfect comes from us. Now, to close off the event properly, let's recite Tasbih Kafara and Suratul Asr. The significance of reciting them at the end of a meeting is to expiate our sins and remind us of the essence of time. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal 'asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus solihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Now, we want to promote some of training and development initiatives that's been going on so far this semester. First up, Quran Befrienders, which is a program for individuals to learn Quranic recitation from a group of peers, encouraging improvement and knowledge sharing. Do sign up by scanning the QR code shown on the screen. Or you can alternatively you can also key in the URL to sign up. Next up, our monthly Juz Amma session by Ustaz Fadil Azman, where we will be reciting and sharing on the short chapters in the Quran, which aims to provide a platform for deeper understanding of the short chapters we often recite in our daily prayers. Do sign up by scanning the QR code shown on the screen. Apologies for the technical difficulties. So you can also find the QR code and the link in the NTMS Telegram channel and also NTMS IEG page. Now, before we end the event, we kindly request everyone to fill out the feedback forms and do let us know how we can improve and work towards our future events. Please also do look out and sign up for part 2 of Finance 101 happening at SMU on 8 February. The poster will be out soon on the IG page. And lastly, since we are uni students, of course, we have to take a group photo before our event ends. So now can I get everyone to move forward for photo taking? For the